All right, this is neuro rehab and recovery, or how I learned to wipe my ass again. This little disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I've watched every episode of House, but don't take this as medical advice. If you were looking for medical advice, look on WebMD, and then you'll get misdiagnosed with cancer. So this was a hard thing to come up with because a lot of things happened. It's a really hard personal subject. And I'm a filmmaker, and I realized nobody wants to hear an origin story. So we're just going to jump right into it. On September 24th, 2020, year of our COVID, I suffered a ischemic stroke. I was paralyzed, blinded, and deafened by one day completely on the right-hand side. It was scary. It was unbelievably scary to wake up and not be able to move, not be able to see, not be able to hear, not be able to taste. Even my right butt cheek didn't work, which was really weird. Try farting with only one side. It's not very good. The thing is that I don't fear death. Death doesn't scare me. I've done some scary things in my life. It doesn't fear me. What scares me more than anything is being incapacitated, being a burden, not being able to move. And that's what I was faced with. I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't walk. I couldn't drive. I couldn't move my arms. I still had speech. I still had cognitive. But all of my motor functions, my greatest fear, being trapped inside my body, was there. I was diagnosed with a lacular infraction of the posterior limb of the internal capsule, which is a fancy way of saying motor functions, sensitivity. I was taken to the hospital, given the MRIs, given the diagnosis, and when I was given the diagnosis, I actually said, oh, great. I was relieved it was a stroke. Because when I first had the symptoms, I was thinking ALS, brain tumor, MS, Parkinson's, all nightmare fuel. So when they told me it was a stroke, then I was like, oh, great. I can work with that. So I'm in the hospital. I can't move. All I can move is my right thumb, and I have to make a decision. I have to make a decision. What do I do next, and what becomes of my life? So at that moment, I decided I'm going to go for it. I always thought of myself as an athlete. I don't have any athletic ability, but my one superpower was I work harder than everybody else. And that's what I decided to do. I decided to just attack it and go hard in therapy and just work at it. And that's what it takes. Neuro rehab is all about rebuilding pathways. It's all about doing things, it's all about repetition. And what I had to do was what I realized what I had to do was just work harder. Just go strong at it and try and overcome what I had, what was going on. So I had limited arm function, and even now, this is as high as I can get my arm. Limited foot function, so right after the stroke, I couldn't feel my feet or my one foot. I couldn't move my ankle or anything. It took about 3 to 6 weeks for that to come back. I had general spasticity. Now, what that is just tightness. Everything is tight. Now, most strokes, when people have a stroke, they're flaccid right away. So they're able, like, everything's just loose and they're kind of droopy, and you see that sometimes, like, in the faces, and they will droop and all that. I had the exact opposite. There were therapists and doctors who said they see this one every 20 years. I was completely stiff right from day one, so as hard as a rock. And there were doctors who were trying to like manipulate my ankle, and it took like 2 of them just to even move my ankle a centimeter. So it was so much stiffness. I also had a scapula impingement. So what means it's one of the reasons why I can't raise my arm. An old hockey injury. I had rotator cuff injury, and they over-tightened it. That's the way they used to do the surgery back then. Well, the problem was when I had the spasticity, everything tightened up even more. We had a very big word that I'm not even going to try to pronounce. What that is just oversensitivity. So my skin, especially on the right side, no, the whole right side, even right now, it's tingling like you wouldn't believe. And if you would look closely, you probably can't see it here, but if you come by and talk to me later, you notice all the hair on the side of my face, on this side, sticks up, whereas it doesn't on this side. There's a meridian line right down the middle where you can just feel like this side of my nose tingles, this side doesn't. And it's like that always. And what it feels like, the best way to describe it was frostbite. Now, I grew up in Canada, so I knew what frostbite was. So my brain feels this injury and goes, hey, this is frostbite. So now I have perpetual frostbite for the last 4 years. I also suffer from what's called clonus. Now, actually, everyone has clonus. Clonus is a reflex. And when you go to the doctor and they take that little mallet and they hit you on the knee and your knee goes up, and you can get the same thing, but they'll take your ankle and they'll kind of like give it a little upward motion, and it'll kind of give you this kind of thing. With stroke and brain injury people, what happens is you start getting that uncontrollably. So my foot would start going like this and like this uncontrollably, and it looked like I was like a drummer at a speed metal band. I was like Lars and Metallica playing one. And all I could do is just kind of like put pressure on it to try and stop it, and it would happen at the worst times, of course. Now it happens every now and then with extreme cold or with high stress. And we don't have any stress in the world right now, so it's perfectly fine. One of the things that I was really lucky with was that when I was in the hospital, I spent 1 week in the hospital and 3 weeks in a rehab facility. When I was in the hospital, I had a physical therapist who had graduated from Texas State. He was a resident there. He was working at Seton, and he said, hey, we have this program. We want to get you in. I want to get you in it. And I was able to go to Texas State, and I still go there twice a week while school's in session, and I get physical therapy. Now, here's the interesting thing. When you're having a stroke, or when you had a stroke, the magic number is 3 months. They say most of your improvements will be in the first 3 months. And if you're really lucky, you can get 6 months. And if you're super lucky, you can have a year. And it's nothing to do with the brain. Your brain will keep healing, and you'll keep growing those neural pathways, and your nerves will still regenerate. But that 3 months, that 6 months, that year, that arbitrary time frame is because of our healthcare system. That's all insurance usually will pay for physical therapy. And physical therapy is the golden bullet, the silver bullet for helping with brain injuries. There's guys at therapy who were told they will never walk again, who were quadriplegics from car accidents, intense physical therapy. I've seen these guys take steps. I've seen them walk. I've seen them stand up on their own. And it's amazing, and it's only because they're getting this physical therapy. Now, I was very lucky to go with Texas State and get into the program. Instead of spending hundreds and thousands of dollars, I pay a small fee every week, and they're able to give me world-class care. Now, they're students, but they're students in a 3-year program. They're in their second year, so they have to have so many clinical hours and everything. And I work with them under supervision of some of the most amazing professors you've ever seen. And they are willing to try and do anything. And you do innovative therapies, something like this. It's called mirror therapy. Now, what you do is you sit there and you take your good hand and you put your bad hand behind the mirror. So you're looking at it and you're seeing a mirror, but you're seeing only your good hand. But your brain thinks it's your bad hand. So that's the thing. The brain is amazing. You can trick the brain. And neurorehabilitation is all about tricking the brain. And it is an absolutely wild sensation when you're having very minimum usage of an arm and you're seeing it working because you're just tricking the brain into doing it. So you can like go and touch it here, but look at it and then you'll feel it on this side. And especially when you've had like paralysis, when you've had paralysis, I could tell if someone touched me, I couldn't tell where. But if you look through the mirror and you touch me there, I'd feel it right there. It was absolutely wild. Another thing we would do is, one of the things is you want to be able to take weight off of people for when you're doing on a treadmill or something like that. And there are a bunch of different ways. One of the ways is they have this crane-like thing. They put you into this harness. It's very uncomfortable. And they have you walk on this treadmill. And the treadmill is, they can go and pull up or take off some of your weight, because that's really your biggest issue against walking again, is that the weight, right? Your own body weight. So they'll take like 20% of your weight away, or sometimes 50% of your weight, and you're able to walk. And when I first started walking again, they actually had to have students who had to like go and like help my legs move. So I had 2 students on each side helping move my legs as I'm walking on this treadmill. As I was able to regain the ability to walk again, they put me in this contraption. Now it's called an anti-gravity treadmill. And what it is, they put you in the world's ugliest capri pants, and they zip you into this bubble, and it goes and sucks all the air out of it and completes a complete vacuum. With that, they can pretty much make you almost weightless, and then you can walk without any resistance. When I use that, when you saw me walk up here, I have a pretty heavy limp. When I walk on that with 80% of gravity, I can walk normal. I can run in that. It's absolutely amazing. They cost about $50,000 to $100,000. They should be everywhere. Like all physical therapy places should have it. This technology is absolutely amazing. This was actually developed by NASA for training, to get astronauts used to training and walking on the moon. These are pretty standard stuff you'll see in a physical therapy clinic. You've got at the top, those are TRX bands, and we'd use those to go and do like squats and stuff. Again, we're trying to take away a bit of the weight and make it a little easier. It's also good with me too for the arm, so it gets my arm involved as well. And one of the things too is like with the mirror therapy, we want to go and like make sure both sides are doing it, because we want to mimic so that the bad side can learn from the good side. So down the bottom right it's just like a bike, and then you can pedal it with your hands as well too. when I first had my stroke, it took me about 4 or 5 days before I got into physical therapy because my blood pressure was so high. Funny little story, when I went into the hospital for to the emergency room, they took my blood pressure and it was 255 over 177. Yeah, so if you go to Seton Medical Center at UT, my high score is still there. They let me put my name in. And it was an unbelievably scary moment because it's really bad when people keep coming into the room. So there's like doctors and there's like neurologists and there's residents and attendings, and I knew it was really bad when a bunch of people dressed as the Avengers with Make-A-Wish balloons came in, and I'm like, okay. But anyways, so at the hospital, I was using one of those bikes, and they had to actually strap my arm to it because I couldn't feel it. So it would just go flailing into the air. And then, of course, at the top right is the thing you always would see with therapy is the parallel bars. And then you'd use that for walking and all that stuff. You see that in every movie. And the thing within the movies is they'll show therapy, they'll fall once, then there'll be a montage, and then they'll be healed. I was waiting for the montage. I never got it. These are little unconventional things. A ladder. Every physical therapy clinic will use a ladder because you can do so much with it. You can use it for push-ups and pull-ups. You can climb it, and you can put things on it and grab off of it. That was my bane the first few weeks of my therapy, is trying to grab things off of the ladder. We have a broomstick. You use a broomstick and you can try and put it above your head and move and manipulate it. And then a shopping cart. When I was at Texas State, they went over to HEB, stole a shopping cart, because I told them, hey, I want to be able to cut the grass. And they were like, okay, well, we don't have a lawnmower, so let's get a shopping cart. And then they went and filled it with students. So I'm pushing students around. And then what we always do too is, since I'm like athlete adjacent, we like to do sports. So we play a lot of soccer, pickleball, we'll hit around a balloon, but I've tried everything. I've played hockey. They brought in a basketball hoop. My son was we were doing a father-son free throw competition. And I was like, well, I'll just get somebody to do it for me. And they were like, we're gonna help you play basketball. And I actually shot more free throws than one of the other dads. So one of the things we've done too is boxing. I've done boxing. Just anything to try and get going. One of the things in physical therapy is you want to always be pushing yourself. And one of the things I was told, if it gets easy, you got to make it hard. You just have to keep making it harder and harder and harder. And the more you push yourself, the more results you're going to have. The biggest thing that I've done that has helped me more than anything is dry needling. It's pretty much acupuncture, but instead of doing to the Chinese meridians, what it's doing is it's focusing on muscle groups. Now, I get it in 3 places. I get it in my calf to try and give up some of the spasticity. I get it in my hip to try and loosen the hip a bit. And then I also get it in my arm. Now with the arm, they actually do more of the acupuncture with it. And we're trying to help with the sensitivity issues. This has been a life changer. A raindrop would be the worst pain I've ever had in my life. Going out in the rain would be absolutely excruciating to the point where it's like, when you get hit and you see white? Think of that with every raindrop that hits you. So when they say, what's your pain at? It'd be like a 10. This brought it down to like a 6 or a 5. Still painful, but manageable. And I can't stress enough how amazing this is, and that now Texas allows physical therapy to use this, Whereas, like for the last about 10 years, there was a big fight. They wouldn't actually allow this. There's actually 2 states in the US where dry needling is illegal, in New York and California, because they have large Chinese populations who are trying to stop it for acupuncture. All right, well, thank you so much for coming out and listening to me. Sorry if I rambled a bit. Here, if you want to check out my Instagram, I've got, one of the things for my rehab is I started painting. So I have lots of, I tell the story of my stroke through some of the paintings I've done. I'm also a 3D artist, and there's a bunch of that stuff on there. Portfolio, I'm a filmmaker, so there's my portfolio, and do a lot of music videos, that kind of stuff. And then my only actual fans, it's just a TikTok with pictures of fans. So anyways, thank you so much. And yeah, if there's any questions, I'll let Mickey facilitate.
All right, thank you. Amazing talk. All right, who has the first question? Okay.
Hi, thanks for sharing everything with us.
Thank you.
I'm curious, and sorry I came in a few minutes late, but did you notice as you you said it's been 4 years?
Yes.
Did you notice a difference in like the rate of change that you felt like over that time? Like what was the kind of the curve?
So the curve was very gradual. The thing is when you're living with something like this, you're inside of it, so you really don't feel the rate. People around you will see it, but you yourself, you're living with it every day. And this, I didn't know a stroke could be this painful. You know, you always see strokes and you see people who aren't like moving, or like on Breaking Bad, Salamanca with the bell. You know, I thought that was a stroke. I didn't know it was like this. I didn't know there was the stiffness, the spasticity, and but yeah, pretty much for me, the first 6 months, I went from being in a wheelchair, unable to take care of myself, to being able to walk, and being able to shower myself, take myself to the bathroom, all that kind of stuff. A lot of that was necessity. That was because when we had the big ice storm in February 2021, I was actually like living in our living room downstairs in a hospital bed. And we had 2 heaters, 2 heat units, like 2 ACs at our house. Well, because of the storm, one of them froze over, so we had no heat in the bottom of our house. So at that moment, I'm like, I got to get upstairs. Like, I just can't live down here. So it took me 10 minutes the first time to get up 17 stairs. And I remember getting into my bed and going, I'm never leaving. Anything else? Yep.
Yeah, a couple more questions.
So you spoke really highly of the program at Texas State.
Yes.
How did you find out about that? Were you have any tips to get in there?
Okay, so the my physical therapist at Seton, he was a graduate there, and he was he was like their resident for a while. He was in the residency program there, and he said to me, he's like, I want to get you into this program. Because also too, we're right in the middle of COVID, so the options are very slim. Like even me getting into a rehab hospital was absolutely like just luck. So there weren't a lot of clinics even open at that time, and they were able, we had a little bit of lull in that October of 2020. And I had just gone into the hospital. I called them up and they're like, hey, we're opening up next week. Come on in. And I've been there for 4 years since. You can contact the clinic And if they have openings, they will definitely bring you in. And they're looking for different things. So they're looking for neuro, they're looking for orthopedic, they're looking for geriatric. They even have some little kids for pediatric. So they want to give the students a whole plethora of experiences.
I have a question.
Yes.
How about psychological therapy?
So yeah, I see psychiatrists. That's one of the things that they've started to do with strokes is realizing right away that we need to look at the mental aspect because it completely upends your world. So when you had a stroke, and especially at Seton, they assign you a team. And you've got a neurologist, and you've got an internal, and there's the physical therapist and occupational, and the one that they've added is a psychiatrist. So to kind of talk through some of the mental aspects of it as well too. And because the thing is too, is you're having a brain injury. So with me, I have 3 1-centimeter lesions inside my brain. And that causes damage, and that totally changes everything too. And when one of the other problems too, when I went to the rehab hospital, I'm going to go a little aside on this. So my rehab hospital was a old folks home. In Texas, they allow old folks homes to be rehab hospitals as a way for them to make a little extra money. So when they were looking for a place for me, this is a weird, messed up thing. Every day, they have a draft of patients. So all these hospitals go, hey, we got beds, and these rehab hospitals go, we got beds, and then the hospitals try to get their patients into them. Well, COVID's going, they were trying to get me into, like, the good ones are like St. David's got an amazing rehab facility, and they tried to get me in there, and they couldn't because of COVID. So they had one place to get me into, and it was this old folks home. And now I'm not going to go long into it, and if Nerd Night ever does a horror stories, I will tell you, I'll gladly tell you about this. But I just want to say one thing too. I am the epitome of privilege. I am a white, straight male in America. And if they can treat me like that, how are they treating the marginalized? Like, it's just, my care there was absolutely horrible. Anyways, one of the things is they were giving me a bunch of drugs I wasn't supposed to have. And I got addicted to these muscle relaxers. And it really messed up with my chemical balances, and it took a long time with withdrawal. So that was part of the mental aspect we had to deal with.
Wow. Any more questions? No? All right. Well, thanks again, Craig.
All right, thank you.